It was exactly 3 a.m. when the peaceful quiet of the Briarfield neighborhood was shattered like a mirror hit by a hammer. The Bowen family's home, a modest ranch-style house tucked behind rows of well-kept maples, erupted into chaos as the living room window exploded inward, glass spraying across the floor like frozen rain. In the darkness, the red glow of the home alarm flashed wildly, the shrill sound of its siren tearing through the still air. Charlie Bowen jolted awake, his heart thundering against his ribcage, a lifetime of military instinct snapping him to full alert. He rolled out of bed immediately, ignoring the sharp sting of glass cutting into his knees as he pulled his wife, Linda, down to the floor beside him. In the hallway, their 8-year-old son, Ben, cried out, his terrified wails twisting like a blade into Charlie's chest. It wasn't a fire. It wasn't a storm. It was an invasion. Charlie's eyes darted to the window where two figures in dark uniforms pushed their way inside, heavy boots scraping across the shattered frame. In the erratic flashes of the alarm's strobe, he saw the crooked badges pinned haphazardly to their chests. The stitching on their patches was loose, their equipment mismatched. But the words stamped across their vests were clear enough. HOA enforcement. For a brief moment, Charlie's mind recoiled at the absurdity. A homeowners association? Smashing windows in the dead of night? But his gut, the same gut that had kept him alive in combat zone, told him this was no misunderstanding. This was a targeted attack. A power play. And whoever these men were, they had come expecting submission. They picked the wrong house. Charlie didn't hesitate. He crossed the bedroom in 3 strides, yanked open the hidden compartment in the closet wall, and reached for the weapon he hadn't needed in years but had maintained with precision. His hands, though bleeding from glass cuts, were steady as he wrapped his fingers around the grip of his Remington 870 tactical shotgun. "Stay down," he hissed to Linda, who clutched the blankets tighter around her body, shielding herself as the men outside shouted commands. "Emergency inspection. Open up immediately." One of them barked, his voice carrying the same authority as a middle school hall monitor playing SWAT. Charlie moved fast and low, gliding across the floor like a shadow. His heart was pounding, but his mind was clear, the chaos of the moment unable to shake the training burned into his bones after 2 tours overseas. These weren't officers. They weren't inspectors. They were thugs playing dress-up, counting on fear to do their work for them. The second man climbed through the window, his boots crunching down on broken glass. He held something in his hand, a baton or maybe a flashlight, but he wielded it like a weapon. His partner stepped into the hallway, closing the distance between them and the bedroom door. Charlie pressed himself to the side of the frame, shotgun braced tight, waiting. Last chance. "Open up or we'll come in and handle this ourselves." Charlie's lips curled into a snarl. "Come in, then," he muttered under his breath. The first man pushed the door open, slow at first, then shoving it wide. He didn't get a full step into the room before Charlie moved. With a roar, the shotgun bucked against Charlie's shoulder, filling the hallway with the deafening blast of a 12-gauge shell. The fake officer screamed, clutching his arm as the impact spun him sideways, knocking him into the wall. The second man lunged forward, shouting, "Gun? Gun!" But Charlie was already moving, his feet sure on the glass-littered floor. The pump action echoed like thunder as Charlie chambered another round and fired again. This time into the floor in front of the second man's boots, forcing him to leap back. The invaders' bravado disintegrated into panic. Their shouts turned to curses as they scrambled back through the window, tripping over one another to escape the line of fire. Charlie didn't follow them outside. Not yet. He moved to the window, weapon at the ready, watching through the haze of the alarm lights. The men stumbled across the lawn, their dark uniforms making them little more than shadows against the faint glow of the streetlights. One of them clutched at his leg, limping badly. The other scrambled toward a waiting pickup truck, its engine idling quietly at the curb. But it wasn't over. Charlie moved back to Linda, checking on her quickly before heading to Ben's room. The boy was curled under his blankets, shaking, his eyes wide with fear. Charlie scooped him up, whispering words of comfort as he carried him back to the master bedroom. "They're gone," Charlie told them both, but his eyes stayed sharp, trained on the window. By the time the real police arrived, summoned by neighbors roused by the alarm and the gunfire, the fake HOA enforcers were long gone. But they hadn't counted on Charlie's security system logging everything. Cameras caught their faces, the license plate of the truck, and even the moment they tore the HOA patches off their vests and tossed them into the nearby creek as they fled. The investigation moved quickly once the footage hit the desks of local law enforcement. Within a week, they uncovered the network behind the assault-a scam operation led by none other than Gregory Barnes, the HOA board's own vice president. Barnes had recruited a small crew of enforcers using fake badges and uniforms to intimidate homeowners into paying fabricated fines. When homeowners refused, they sent in the inspectors to rough them up and make examples of anyone who questioned their authority. But they hadn't counted on Charlie Bowen. The story exploded across local news outlets. Headlines screamed about the fake HOA raid and the veteran father who stood his ground. Reporters swarmed the neighborhood. Neighbors who had once kept their distance from the quiet Bowen family now dropped by with casseroles and grateful words. Barnes and his crew were arrested in a coordinated operation led by the sheriff's department and federal agents. The charges stacked high: aggravated assault, impersonating law enforcement, conspiracy to commit robbery, and unlawful entry, among others. Their plan to use fear as a weapon had collapsed in the face of one man's resolve. When the case went to trial, Charlie testified calmly, explaining what had happened, describing every detail with the same precision he had once used to brief commanding officers overseas. His voice was steady. His eyes never wavered. The prosecutor called him a hero. The defense tried to paint him as unstable, a hothead with too many guns. But the jury wasn't buying it. The footage was damning. The evidence undeniable. The verdict came back fast. Guilty on all counts. Sentences were harsh. Gregory Barnes was handed 25 years without parole. His enforcers received between 10 and 15 years each. The judge's closing remarks echoed through the courtroom like a gavel strike on stone. The Bowen family defended their home, as was their right. The criminals who attacked them will pay the price. But through it all, Charlie refused the spotlight. He declined interviews, turned down offers for book deals, and waved off the producers knocking on his door with movie scripts in hand. He wasn't interested in fame. He had done what any father would do. Still, the community wouldn't forget. They knew who had stood between them and the fear Gregory Barnes had tried to sow. They knew who had reminded everyone what courage looked like. In the months that followed, repairs were made to the Bowen home. The broken glass replaced. The walls patched and painted. But in the living room, near the window where the fight had begun, a simple plaque now hung. In this home, fear has no place. It was a quiet declaration. A message to anyone who might think about crossing the line again. Charlie Bowen wasn't looking for a fight, but if it came to his door, he would be ready. And this time, the whole town knew it.